If it's come to this, then I must reveal my secret to you.
Movesets are one of the most important aspects of Pokemon. It's also one of the most infuriating aspects, because every single Pokemon has like 4 or more possible sets and you have to memorize them all. But once you've officially reached that point, then you have reached level 2 of competitive Pokemon. These movesets are famous for a reason. They work. Anything else is usually subpar and doesn't work as well. But sometimes some players say, I don't care, and make some creative movesets. Some genuinely great, some odd, and some so bad that it makes you want to take their team builder, throw it away, throw their PC in a river, and ban them to the Digimon realm. So let's get into it. Dragonite. Dragonite is as offensive as it gets, with the boosting moves like Dragon Dance and offensive moves like Extreme Speed, Earthquake, and the Elemental Punches. He was even once a special attacker in the past, running moves like Fire Blast and Draco Meteor. Plus, when Generation 5 came along, he got access to multi-skill. It gave him the ability to tank super effective moves and get a free Dragon Dance up. So there's really no reason to run this version of Dragonite unless you're annoying and want to run a defensive stall-like set of him. Let me introduce you to specially defensive Substitute, Thunder Wave, Dragon Hill, and Roost Dragonite. This Dragonite, instead of making progress by using all of his usual attacking moves, makes progress by crippling their opponent and hiding behind Substitute like a coward, as well as using Dragon Tail to act a hazer, and then basically rinse and repeat. It's honestly really a perfect storm when you both have Substitute and multi-skill intact. It's extremely hard to break Dragonite, not to mention that unlike other offensive Pokemon, Dragonite is actually decently bulky with a 91 base HP stat and 100 base defenses across the board. And while yes, Dragon Flying has common weaknesses like Ice and Rock, Dragon also has some solid resistances like Fighting, Bug, Fire, Water, and Grass, as well as obviously an immunity to the ground type. So while Dragons and Dragon Flying are usually always seen as frailer because of their 4 times weakness to ice, it actually has an odd number of defensive potential, especially when taking into account the fact that players are just generally not expecting a defensive variant of Dragonite. Now obviously, there are downsides to running Dragonite with this moveset. Part of it is that its only attacking move is Dragon Tail, which is weak, has negative priority, and is a Dragon type move. So if you come across a Fairy type, you're going to be in trouble. You'll be forced to switch out, and that Fairy type will have a free turn to attack, or even worse, setup. However, the point of this set isn't to do major damage, but to cripple and make your opponents come in and out, which is why this Dragonite set pairs well with hazards, more specifically a bulky hazard stacked team. Also, once your opponent knows that you don't have that typical Dragonite set, like all things, it becomes a lot easier to counter, especially if you're facing them more than once on the ladder. Because here's the thing, if you face a ground or fairy type, your strategy kind of falls apart. So this is a really cool strategy in theory, but it's one that would have worked much better pre-Gen 6 because fairy types obviously. Now, for a more recent one, Gholdengo Pechaberry. Now this set has a lot more flexibility than the other sets because really the only defining feature of it is the berry and the move trick. We all know how absolutely annoying Gliscor can be. It's a combination of its natural bulk and ability to tank everything. His typing, which has great defensive and offensive potential, plus the fact that Terra just elevates him to a level beyond belief, and then obviously his ability Poison Heal. Poison Heal not only far exceeds the potential properties of other items like Leftovers, but it also means that you get a status condition that actually benefits you and you can't get crippled by Thunder Wave or Burn. And then let's say you want to trick a Pokemon with Leftovers, you, the trickster, can still benefit from that Leftovers, but if you trick Gliscor, you just get poisoned, unless you're a steel type like Gholdengo. And Pechaberry obviously heals that status condition. Plus, it's even better since it serves multiple purposes. By that I mean, once you trick Gliscor with Pechaberry and you yourself hold a Toxic Orb, you can trick another Pokemon into holding that orb. It's pretty great. The thing is that it's very situational set for just one Pokemon in general. While you're trying to click Gliscor, he can also hit you with the super effective EQ, and if that OHKOs you, then you're obviously cooked. This is one of the reasons that lots of times Gholdengo runs Air Balloon. So by doing this, you're putting yourself in the crosshairs of something that could really hurt you. And even though Gliscor is a really popular Pokemon, if your opponent isn't running it, then that was just a waste of an item. Because why else would you want to cure the status condition of a Pokemon who isn't you? So you'd be running a useless move and a useless item when you could be running Choice Scarf, Choice Spect, Air Balloon, or even Leftovers. However, if you do choose to do it and it pays off, it's really great and it cripples Gliscor. But again, he's not even dead yet, so you still gotta get to him, and that's its own task. However, if you want to rage bait your opponent, then this set is a lot more fun, and if it works, then your opponent is not staying sane after that, because that is just a disrespectful move. Next is Corviknight. So we all know Stored Power. It's a special move that raises in power the more stat boost the Pokemon has. It's often used on, for example, my favorite test tube baby, Reuniclus, but it has a younger brother no one uses, which is Power Trip. Power Trip rises in power the more stat boost the Pokemon has, but it's a physical move. And to be honest, this move has been used a lot less than its special counterpart. I'm not exactly sure why, but for example, it seems like when examining Stored Power users versus Power Trip users, well, for starters, there are much less Pokemon. This is part due to the fact that it was introduced in Generation 7, and Stored Power has been around since Gen 5. These Pokemon who have Stored Power are also just much better Pokemon, like Arceus or even Deoxys having access to it. So back to Corviknight. Why on earth would anyone want to run Corviknight with Power Trip? Well, Corviknight already has a very common boosting move, which is Iron Defense. This obviously fits very well, but now the important question is, why run Power Trip instead of the usually reliable combination of Roost, Iron Defense, Defog, or Body Press? After all, one of those moves has to be replaced, so why? Well yeah, the damage output can be significant, and Dark typing is a great offensive typing, but most of all, it's a good move to use on Gholdengo. Gholdengo is Corviknight's biggest nightmare because it blocks Defog, and 2, because if Corv runs Body Press as its only damaging move, which it often does, then it can't touch him, unless, see, now you're getting it, he's running Power Trip, and because Gholdengo is weak to it, it's pretty great. If you really want to step it up a notch, you can also run Weakness Policy. Because of his natural bulk, he can usually tank super effective hits, and then boosted by Power Trip, he can become a sweeper, which your opponent just won't see coming. So a pretty cool set in theory, however, again, very situational. Alright, now I want to talk about the most gimmicky one of the bunch, which was Damp Rock Gallade. Non-Mega Gallade was always kind of a mid-Pokemon. The most notable thing about it was, well, Mega. Other than that, he made his debut in Generation 4 in the UUBL tier, with what at the time was a pretty impressive typing of Psychic and Fighting, but he just didn't cut it for the OU tier, even then as his defenses were low and his speed was unimpressive. Basically, if you wanted a mixed attacker with a better stab typing, then Infernape was right there, and he has priority, and then obviously ignoring his Mega, his base form just got worse and worse. But now let's change the topic to rain teams. See, Drizzle is a very rare ability, which is critical to rain teams obviously, it's the entire basis of them. However, only 3 Pokemon in history of Pokemon have actually had this ability: the mighty Kyogre, the underwhelming but necessary Politoed, and Burb. However, Kyogre is an Ubers, hashtag unban Kyogre. Politoed is RU, and for a while he wasn't even in the game, and then Pelipper is always in between OU and UU. So if you don't play those tiers, you don't have Drizzlemon, and you are forced to use it manually via Rain Dance, like you did in the good old days in DBPOU. So who are you going to use? Well, Gallade obviously. Why? Well, he has access to it, and no one would see it coming. Now you might think this wouldn't work and it's stupid, but you're actually wrong. Because the person who originally posted this on Reddit, the Griefing Ender, actually changed everyone's minds and made everyone realize that Gallade is actually not only an OU-worthy rain setter, but an Uber-worthy Pokemon. And Gallade actually went on to be a good rain setter, so good that Kyogre fell all the way down to the ZU tier, as people realized that Gallade is just so much better than any other rain setter in the entirety of the Pokemon games. And once it went to Ubers, it went on to be banned to the AG tier, where it actually got a higher usage rate than Mega Rayquaza. That's right, Psychic type stocks went way up just because of him. True story. Just do not search it up. Next is a rather silly set, and the Pokemon who runs it is Xerneas, my bad. Xerneas has some pretty amazing moves, but one truly stands out, and that's Geomancy. Geomancy is the strongest boosting move in the game. It turns an already powerful Pokemon into one of the best sweepers in the entirety of the series. And a fun fact, in the National Dex tier, it's actually banned. But since there's no National Dex AG tier, you literally can't use them, so that's just sad. But anyways, the silly moveset we're focused is a 3-move moveset. Question is, why would a Pokemon with such a good move pool only run 3 moves? Well, I mean, you have access to, besides Moonblast, Thunder, Ingrain, Focus Blast, and even Defog plus more. So why only 3? Well, in Gen 6, an unnerfed Darkrai was running around. And now listen, I did a video where I basically took Darkrai, who was already down, and dragged his name through the mud, and I said that even pre-Smeargle Dark Void nerf in Gen 6, he was low-key buns. And I don't take it back, it's true. But when he did come through, he was extremely annoying. And with his good speed tier, if he managed to sleep your Xerneas, it could be a huge inconvenience to have your Xerneas slept, because that was probably your sweeper. So what do you do to help with that? Well, you add Sleep Talk to your arsenal. But what do you do to take it even further? Well, you limit your moveset to 3 moves, so the probability of you landing on your attack when you're slept is better. And the attack you're choosing is obviously Moonblast, his best stab move, because that's how math works. The point is basically to make sure you have an easy access to Moonblast no matter what, because it's such a spammable move. It's so spammable that you are essentially forced to run a bulky Steel type because it's menacing, and you don't want your sleeper to be taken out by a has-been Ubermon. And for now, that's it for the video. There is no lack of cool or interesting or just downright terrible sets that people have made, whether it was a serious attempt or something that someone just made for fun, and to poke fun at the ever-changing, centralized, and overpowered metagame that Game Freak seems to be throwing onto us as players are forced to adapt or just stop playing or just play the older games. So let me know if you want a part 2, sets I missed, or other video ideas. Thank you.